Should we be having a period? That is like I've heard it, a lot of people want to debate. No, you shouldn't have a period. Yes, you should have a period. Your body gets rid of waste once a month. Okay? When you start to have menstruation, which is bleeding, when you urinate is the only time you should be getting rid of the waste in the blood. You should never have to wear a pad outside of like a panty liner. If you have to wear a big pad, okay, that means that you are hemorrhaging. And we in this society has made hemorrhaging become a normal process. And it's not. And that's why you have a lot of us women that are having anemia because we're bleeding out, we're hemorrhaging, and we got it. And I don't know how athletes do it. I don't know how dancers do it. It's so many people. I'm like, how are you working when you're in a period? Because you're literally bleeding out, okay? And you're expected to do all these things. So this is the key for menstruation. It's the type of foods you put inside your body. The less waste, the less processed food you eat, the more green leafy vegetables, the more you stay hydrated, the less stress you have will dictate how much blood is actually flowing out of your body. Okay? Now, there are a lot of components to this. When you start to have an accumulation of waste inside the reproductive system, the reproductive system say, wait a minute, it's a whole lot of waste here, and I don't want it to mess up the whole uterus. I don't want it to mess up, I don't want it to mess up the whole reproductive system. So I'm gonna wall it off and I'm gonna make a trash bag like next to the ovary. That is a cyst. Okay. A cyst means you had an over accumulation of waste and your body is intelligent and said, this is too much for us to break down. So we're going to make a sack and we're going to put it in it. Then you have waste that accumulates inside the body and it becomes a tumor. It's an over accumulation of waste. Now, there's a caveat to this because we always talk about what we eat, but what we don't understand is the hair chemicals that they were giving us to put in our hair to straighten our hair. We didn't understand that that was having a direct effect on our reproductive system. So, yes, a lot could be because of how we ate, but we got to be careful of the braids that we're putting in our hair because they're treating this hair with chemicals and it's in our scalp and it gets to our bloodstream. And when it gets in our bloodstream, it flows everywhere. And we're most vulnerable in our reproductive system. And so we're getting all these diseases. And you say, I cleaned up my diet, I've done all these things, but you have to understand. Like for myself, I can use myself as an example. I remember having perms. I remember having perms for years as a kid. Okay. That stuff stays in the blood. You have to take measures to clean it out of your system. If you don't take those measures to clean it out of the system, those toxins just accumulate in your system and then you start having these issues. And now we're having teenage girls with, fibroids and all these other things because their bodies are way over waste. It's not just from, the what might be going on in their hair because they're not doing perms like we were doing it. They're doing a lot of braiding. Okay. And they're on that label of that braid bag, they're not telling you all the chemicals that they treated that hair with. And they're not giving you at the bottom of it may cause and all the things that it may do to your reproductive system and your brain and the lead that it's putting through your blood. We are up against a monster. So it's just not what you're eating alone. It's just not that when it comes to menstruation. There are a lot of components. So I don't like people to feel like some people say, I don't eat sugar. I don't eat salt, but I still have a fibroid because there are a lot of different ways that you can get it. But the prevention for these things is to keep your blood clean. Try to keep your blood clean. Try to keep your diet as clean as you can. Watch these sexual partners. You don't know what is going on, especially nowadays. These young people, they're on a different planet. We're gonna have some diseases we ain't never seen before because they're doing stuff we don't know nothing about. These are conversations that we need to have. So menstruation comes from stress, what you're eating. It also comes from environmental things. So really sit back and think about things that are in your environment that you can clean up. Okay, but you should be taking, women should be taking reproductive herbs. So the reproductive herbs for a woman is dun quai, red raspberry leaves, and black cohosh. If you're trying to get pregnant, you need to get that uterus ready for pregnancy, to get those toxins so you can have a nice, healthy baby. Red raspberry leaves is a staple. You should be on red raspberry leaves at least a couple times a month. Just strengthening the reproductive system one time is not enough. You have to have it on an interval. The men are the same way. They have to constantly work on the prostate. This is not just a one-off thing, and then you're done. Okay? So that's the reproductive system. There's a lot more that I can say about it, but I'm trying to keep it as short and concise as I can. Tips for becoming a womanpreneur. Well, from my point of view, I have been in business for myself since I have been 16 years old. I started off by doing nails. Being a woman and an entrepreneur is an amazing thing. You have to believe in yourself to achieve anything. And I have to tell you, when I started, everybody's like, "Oh, that's stupid. I can't believe you're gonna do that." You cannot listen to naysayers when you know you have a gift. There's a gift inside of all of us. And so to become a woman entrepreneur is to believe in yourself, not only to believe in yourself, but you need to invest in yourself. And when you invest in yourself, then you reap the returns and the benefits from it. I want you to look at it like this. Being an entrepreneur, working for yourself, is the obverse and the reverse side of working for somebody else and making the money. So instead of making somebody else money, just have a nice model that you've put for yourself, a professional model, give a good service, and people will pay you for it. If you're going to work overtime, it's best when you work overtime for yourself because at least you're reaping the benefits of it. So I believe that being an entrepreneur as a woman or as a man, I think that's the most revolutionary thing you can do because you set your own hours. If you don't want to start at 8 o'clock in the morning, you don't have to. You also can set your, if you want to go on vacation, say you want to go on vacation for a month. There's not very many organizations that you work for that can give you a straight month off and say, "Oh, you want to go to Asia for 2 months, go ahead." And that don't work like that. But being an entrepreneur allows you to do that. And it also allows you to have financial independence. That's the most beautiful thing about being an entrepreneur. Because not only will you make your own money, you can decide and you can build communities. You can build so much from having an excess of an abundance of wealth that you've built not only for yourself, but then you can pass it on to your lineage and to your community. So I'm a firm believer in being an entrepreneur. The next one is the power of physical fitness and connection to food. Okay, this is a good one.